The double take. Attractive people get lied to more than anyone else. Not with words, but with behavior. Everyone around them is sending signals they've spent their whole life misreading. The brain doesn't waste a second look on things it doesn't find worth looking at. A double take is an involuntary response. The visual cortex flags something as worth re-registering, and the eyes follow before conscious thought catches up. The person doing it didn't decide to. Their brain made that call without asking. The look away is the tell. That's the moment they become aware of their own reaction and try to walk it back, which is about 2 seconds too late. You'll notice this more in passing, hallways, sidewalks, or across the room. Anywhere someone has a brief window to look and then tries to pretend they weren't looking. The double take is one of the most honest things a stranger will ever tell you about yourself. It's proof you're worth looking at twice. Room energy. The energy in a room responds to you before you've said a single word. Everyone feels it. Nobody mentions it. When you walk into a space, something measurable happens. Posture adjusts. Conversations get more animated. People become more aware of how they're coming across. It's not a coordinated effort. It's a collective, unconscious response to your presence, and it happens before you've done anything to cause it. Researchers who study social facilitation have documented this pattern consistently. Attractive people alter group dynamics simply by being present. The reason you haven't noticed is that you're the one walking in. You're not watching the room from the outside. You're in the middle of it, which is the worst position to observe what's happening around you. Next time, pay attention to what changes the moment you arrive and what goes back to normal the moment you grab your coat to leave. Frequent smiles. A smile is one of the hardest things to fake convincingly, and one of the hardest things to suppress when it's real. Brief eye contact with a stranger is normally a form of social acknowledgement, nothing more. But research consistently shows that people smile more frequently during eye contact with faces they find attractive, and they do it automatically, before they've consciously decided to be friendly. It's the same reflex that makes people laugh at things they find funny before they've decided whether they should actually be laughing. If you're getting unprompted smiles from people in neutral contexts, waiting rooms, elevators, passing on the street, that's not just friendliness. That's your face producing a response that most faces don't produce. Your friends notice it. Your friends have been watching people react to you for years. They notice something you didn't. Friends occupy a unique position. They can see how others respond to you from the outside, without being inside your head telling yourself it doesn't mean anything. When they joke that you're flirting, when you're simply having a conversation, what they're actually saying is that the person you're talking to is visibly affected, and you appear completely unaware. Your obliviousness to the other person's reaction is, frankly, quite entertaining. The joke isn't really about flirting, it's about how consistently you produce a response in people without trying, and how consistently you fail to register it. Your friends have watched this pattern play out across years of social interactions. They find it funny. You should find it informative. People assume you're capable. A decision needs to be made. Everyone in the room turns to look at you first. You didn't ask for that responsibility. It just happens. Studies consistently show that attractive people are rated as more intelligent, more competent, and more trustworthy before they've done anything to demonstrate any of those qualities. Psychologists call this the halo effect. People seek your opinion on things outside your expertise, defer to your judgment in group situations, and assume you have the answer before you've indicated that you do. The fact that people consistently assume you're capable when they don't know a thing about you tells you something about how you read in a room. That assumption comes from how you're being perceived, and it starts with how you look. Strangers initiate conversation. Most people will walk past hundreds of strangers and barely acknowledge a single one of them. The ones they do approach, they chose carefully, even if they don't know why. Strangers have no social obligation to you, no shared history, no mutual connection, no reason to take the risk of approaching someone who might not respond well. And yet, some people find that strangers consistently engage with them, ask for directions when others are standing closer, strike up conversations while waiting in line, sit down next to them in a half-empty room. Psychologists have found that people unconsciously use attractiveness as a signal for approachability and warmth. The stranger doesn't think, that person is attractive, I'll talk to them. They just feel comfortable around you, and they choose to act on it. Primping. Attractive people don't make others feel bad about themselves. They make them suddenly, urgently aware of how they probably don't look as good. 1 second someone is perfectly comfortable. The next, they're smoothing their hair, checking their shirt, running their tongue over their teeth. These are self-monitoring behaviors that fire automatically when someone feels observed by a person whose opinion they care about. Their nervous system subconsciously decided that now was a good time to do a quick audit, and their actions followed. Watch for this in group settings. The person who adjusts their appearance the moment you arrive is doing it because something changed about who's in the room. That something is you. Body mirroring. Your posture, your gestures, your pace. Someone nearby is copying all of it right now, and they have absolutely no idea they're doing it. Psychologists call it the chameleon effect, the unconscious tendency to mimic the body language of people we're drawn to. It happens below conscious awareness, driven by a neural mirroring system that activates in response to anyone a person is genuinely engaged with or drawn to. Research shows it happens more intensely and more frequently around people who are perceived as attractive. The more someone mirrors you, the more invested they are. In the conversation, in your presence, in you specifically. You can test this without being obvious about it. Change your posture subtly mid-conversation. Cross your arms, lean back, tilt your head. If they follow within 30 seconds without realizing it, you have your answer. They remember details. You mentioned it once, months ago in passing. They brought it up today like it was important. For them, it was. Memory is selective by design. The brain doesn't retain everything. It retains what it tags as worth keeping, and those tags are determined largely by emotional significance. When someone remembers the specific detail you casually dropped in a conversation 6 weeks ago, it means their brain flagged that interaction as worth encoding. The detail wasn't memorable on its own. Something about you made it memorable. Research shows people retain more details about people they find attractive. The fact that near strangers consistently remember details is concrete evidence that you're registering differently in people's minds than most people do. Misplaced compliments. You're constantly receiving compliments on your sense of humor, your intelligence, your shirt, everything except the thing that's most obvious about you. Complimenting someone's appearance directly requires a level of social exposure most people aren't comfortable with. It signals interest too clearly. So instead, they redirect to something adjacent, something safer, something they can frame as a casual observation rather than an admission. The result is a compliment that lands slightly off-center from what they actually noticed first. This is why attractive people often hear more about their personality, their taste, their specific clothing choices, and less about what caught someone's attention in the first place. The compliment isn't misplaced because they didn't notice. It's misplaced because they noticed it too much. Eye contact avoidance. You've noticed people struggle to hold your gaze. You assumed it meant they weren't interested. But what if the opposite is true? Sustained eye contact with an attractive face is cognitively demanding in a way that eye contact with neutral faces simply isn't. Research shows that attractive faces increase self-consciousness in observers, making direct eye contact harder to hold. The person who keeps glancing away isn't disengaged, they're overstimulated, and breaking the gaze is how they manage it. From the outside, it comes across as distraction or indifference. What's actually happening is that your face requires more effort to look at comfortably than most faces do. It's a rare compliment, and it's true about you. The silence. People often go completely quiet around the person they're most attracted to. This one gets misread more than almost any other signal. Someone who is warm and talkative with everyone else suddenly becomes noticeably subdued around you. Shorter answers, fewer jokes, less of the ease they've shown around everyone else. The instinct is to assume you've done something wrong or that they simply don't like you. Neither is actually true. When this happens to you repeatedly, people becoming quiet specifically around you while remaining animated with others, the pattern is worth recognizing. People often go quiet around those they perceive as attractive because they become acutely aware of how they're coming across, worried they might say something foolish, and self-conscious about how they might appear. That anxiety makes it so words don't flow as easily. The silence isn't disinterest, it's nerves. Free upgrades. You weren't handed that upgrade because of your frequent flyer miles. There's a reason people treat you differently, and it has nothing to do with points. The attractiveness halo effect is one of the most consistently replicated findings in social psychology. Attractive people receive measurably better treatment across a wide range of everyday interactions. Faster service, more benefit of the doubt, exceptions being made without being asked for. The person giving you the upgrade or waiving the fee is just acting on a bias they'd probably don't even recognize they have. Small instances of this are easy to dismiss. The fact that it keeps happening to you, without explanation, is evidence of something others are picking up on that you might not be seeing in yourself. Constant invitations. You're constantly being invited to every social event imaginable. It's become an actual problem. People are protective of their social spaces. They don't extend invitations casually. They invite people whose presence improves the room. When the invitations come consistently from multiple directions, for things ranging from casual to significant, it means people have decided you're someone who makes things better, not just tolerable. The telling version of this is when people you don't know particularly well go out of their way to include you, when the invitation wasn't obligatory, when there was no social pressure to extend it, when they just wanted you there. Politeness is including someone you feel obligated to. This is something else entirely. They confide in you. Strangers tell you things within weeks that take most people years to share. Disclosure of this kind requires trust, and trust normally takes time to build. When it happens faster than it should, something is accelerating the process. Attractive people are perceived as warmer and more worthy of closeness, often before they've done anything to earn that perception. The person opening up just feels, for reasons they can't fully articulate, that you're someone they can tell things to. Pay attention to how quickly conversations move past surface level and how often people seem mildly surprised by their own openness afterward. They didn't plan to say that much. Your presence made it feel safe before they'd decided it was, and that's not something that happens around just anyone. If you recognized yourself in most of these signs, you've been underselling yourself your entire life. The irony of being more attractive than you think is that people around you have never been confused about it. That's been your problem alone.